So shall we move on to our main feature of the episode? Horror games, our favorite horror games. We're going to be gushing over various different weird and wonderful releases, I am sure. I'm going to start with Jamie. I know one of yours for definite, but I don't know other ones that maybe are a bit more obscure or popular ones. I don't know, but I think Phasmophobia's got to be on your list.
Phasmophobia is top of the list. I
top of the list.
Game.
Wow. Okay. Okay.
Okay. So cons first. It does eventually get to a point where it becomes a little bit more formulaic, and you play it more like a puzzler than a horror game. You're just like, well, how am I going to? What ghost is in there? Let's go work it out. We'll do this, and then you walk out and you've solved it. But they're very good at. They need to tweak their gameplay loop. It's becoming a little stale at this point. But then I'm talking to someone who has quite literally hundreds of hours in the game, like too many hours, realistically. But so all of that aside, Phasmophobia, yeah, it is one of the best experiences. You go in with a group of mates and you wander around creepy old houses or creepy new houses. That's the other thing I love with it. The fact that not every location is a decrepit asylum or a creepy old mansion. Like there's some just houses in regular neighborhoods, and you're in there, and everything looks normal. And then you hear a noise, and you turn around, and the door creaks open slightly, and you're like, oh, and you check it with your EMF, and you get a couple of beeps, and then that could be it for a little while. And you're wandering around, and then someone throws a glass at you. You're like, okay. And it can slow build, or sometimes you go in, all hell breaks loose immediately. We had a game the other night, walked into the house, we were in there for 2 seconds, this thing shot across the hall, the lights glow red, the light bulb exploded, like all the doors open, we're like, okay, fuck, it's active, boys, it's definitely active, like it's great. It also uses... we're normally playing it in Discord because we played it so much, and it's just a bit easier, to do. But it's got proximity chat, so when you a radio. So when you go into the school or the asylum, the bigger buildings, you can just about hear your mates talking to each other down the corridor because they're next to each other. So we usually split into teams of 2, and then you'll hear a far off scream as one of them gets jumped by something, and then it's over the radio. It's like it's down the end, and it's so good. It's just so good. And it spawned, which for me is brilliant, a massive wave of imitators. So there are thousands of these things on Steam, one of which is another pick, which I'll get to. But yeah, Phasmophobia, like honestly, if you're a PC player, because it hasn't made it to consoles and stuff yet, I'd love to see it happen. But if you're a PC player and you want to play something that's fun, and you can get real like jump scare factor and things like that out of, but also has the creep factor, because too many horror games rely solely on jump scares, and that just gets boring.
Yeah.
But Phasmophobia, it's top of it. I love it. I absolutely adore it. I will play it forever. I want to go play it now. I've talked about it.
so shall we do like a round robin where we all do one each and we kind of do like a few each? Okay, Sarah, you're up next then.
Oh, which one am I going to choose? Okay, I mean, first of all, I just want to give some big love to Phasmophobia because it is amazing. I'm going to say my favorite of them all, if we're putting one at the top, will have to be Bloodborne.
Ooh.
Yeah, I am kind of obsessed with that game, considering it's like, for me anyway, I've only just recently played it, as in for the first time. I think it was in lockdown, and I am just obsessed with it. It's so good. It's amazing. It's beautiful and challenging because it's a Soulsborne. It is the Born of Soulsborne. Yeah, and I love the fashion element of it as well. I love the big boss fights, the gory, terrifying, weird, and wonderful things you get to attack, and the satisfaction of progressing in that game is awesome. Also, the multiplayer aspect of the game is amazing.
That's right.
If anyone hasn't played it, you should definitely play it. It's really good. And if you want a hand, I can play with you.
Yeah, and suitably horrifying as well. The imagery and the way it's crafted the world, and at a moment's notice, you can get just slaughtered by like the weakest of enemies as well, or you can come out feeling like a triumphant badass hunter.
Yeah, love the gothic realness.
God, amazing. Okay. Oh God, is it my turn then? Okay. My favorite of all time. I don't know if I have a favorite of all time, but I am gonna talk about Condemned Criminal Origins on the Xbox 360. I love this game. I've actually still got my disc, and I'm considering to do it on a Halloween stream or something like that on Monday. Maybe we'll do that. But this was an Xbox 360 game, first person, which is normally questionable. Am I going to play this? Am I going to enjoy it in first person? But this was absolutely tremendous. And again, it's a slightly different style of horror game. You are a forensic expert trying to solve a murder. And so you have your little like blue light and your camera, and you've got to like solve the murder scenes and things like that. And it feels like the movie Seven or the movie The Bone Collector. Those kind of movies that are like forensic horror films. It's very much like that. And of course, it's all in first person. The emphasis is that there are firearms in the game, but they're almost kind of like redundant. It's not about that. It's about the melee combat. Like you pick up like a 2x4 of wood or a drain pipe, and that's kind of all you're using throughout the entire game. And it is so cool because there's these like the thugs and the junkies and things like that in the city are just these horrible kind of manifestations of societal issues that will attack you on sight, and they're so brutal and so terrifying. I remember vividly one of the enemies, these kind of just a random low-level thug, but he had like his head wrapped in duct tape and only his kind of mouth was exposed, and it was so unnerving and just terrifying that when they'd kind of leap out of the dark at you to try and mess you up, you can block and things like that, and then you can try and get the better of them or just run away. But it was genuinely kind of terrifying, and it told this really interesting story because you're trying to solve the murders as well with like your little kind of mobile phone. You've got a digital camera. Back in the day, it wasn't like a separate one. Like we have our mobile phones, which can do both now. But back then, it was like you have a digital camera with a flash on it. You have a mobile phone, which you cannot take pictures with, and you have your forensic analysis tools as well. And I'm thinking, I really need to play this again, and I would love for this to get a remake in Unreal Engine because my God, the visuals that could look like that this game could look like in present day game engines would be phenomenal. Again, it's one of those games which is all about atmosphere. It's quite slow paced. It's not like a heavy action game, but when the action kicks off, then you got to be prepared to like block and counter and punch back or kick back and things as well. And it's so kind of weighty to the movements and when you connect. And what a game. I urge anybody to try and check out. It should be mega cheap now if you can find it on like PC or something like that. And Sarah's a PC gamer now, so no excuses. Sarah can probably find it on a Steam sale for a couple bucks. But it's such a cool game that I would love for that series to come back. And Condemned 2, the sequel, wasn't as well received. I didn't even play it because I had read and heard that there was more emphasis on like firearms in the game, and that's not what the first game was about. And it was far more effective and unnerving to say, I've only got this rickety table leg or this 2x4 bit of wood with a couple of nails in it, and that's all I've got to defend myself whilst I'm trying to find the serial killer, but also fend myself off against all of these thugs. Great game, like truly great game.
I'd completely forgotten Duct Tape Head. I remember that.
Tape Head.
That was
so
a
vivid,
brilliant
right?
visual. Yeah, no, it was awesome. It's like very evocative of like Chitters from Hellraiser almost, because you could only see the bottom half. So
yes, oh gosh, yeah,
that was a damn good game. That. Okay, so my next pick would be a franchise more than just one game because I love them all, but Left 4 Dead.
Yes.
Left 4 Dead, one of my favorite games ever. Yeah, Left 4 Dead, Left 4 Dead 2, and Back 4 Blood, to be fair, was really good fun. Although I I don't know, not quite as. Didn't capture me quite as much. It's still really good fun, and nearly got me copyright struck from Twitch because there's a bit where you can't turn off the fucking music. So, but
no.
But no, Left 4 Dead, absolutely adore. I have a real thing for. I love multiplayer games. Like, I mean, we've talked about it countless times. I love to be able to play games with friends, and one of my favorite things is games like I like games where you survive together. Whether that be, like Minecraft or Grounded, where you've got to survive, literally survival games, or games where you have overwhelming odds and you are just battling. And Left 4 Dead, the minute you trigger a noise and you just hear that, you're like, oh, fuck. And then you look over the rise and there's 60,000 zombies coming at you. And in the midst of it is one big chubby guy vomiting constantly. And you're like, guys, this is not going to be a good day. Like we've picked the wrong day to go for a picnic in the middle of the airport. So it's brilliant. And I love the I love the level designs. I love I like that sort of kind of post-apocalyptic world's gone to hell type feel of things. I enjoy that as a setting anyway. It's probably why I love Fallout 4 so much and things like that. Like it's a good setting for video games. There's something kind of appealing as a gamer and as someone heavily immersed in fiction most of the day, that the idea that society will collapse eventually, and Lord knows if you're following the news in the UK at the moment, it's going to collapse eventually.
Mm-hmm.
So. But if it's that knowledge that it'll happen, but you're going to be left standing with a fire axe and a can of gasoline in your hand, going, "Come on, you bastards!" It's a great thing. So I wouldn't necessarily say it's always that scary in Left 4 Dead. It's heart pounding, and it's that it's not so much fear as it is like just abject panic, which I love.
Yep.
But then you get these moments in it with like the witch, where you'll be walking and you'll hear that crying in the dark, and you suddenly stop, and everyone's like, "We're going to move very carefully through this sewer because she's here somewhere, and if we bump into her, we're fucked." And so and then you're there creeping around now, and then inevitably one of you screws up and gets jumped. Love it. It's a brilliant series of games, and I've long wanted them to make Left 4 Dead 3. And have yearned for news of it. And then we got the spiritual successor with Back 4 Blood. And it is absolutely worth playing, especially because it certainly was, and I believe is, in Games Pass. And it's great fun. It's got that feel of Left 4 Dead for sure. Like I said,
is it crossplay, Jamie? I'm curious if it's crossplay, because then we can all get together.
Fairly certain it's crossplay, because I'm pretty sure one of the guys was on Xbox One. I would have to double check that, but I am pretty sure it was crossplay. And it's cool, great fun.
Yeah, we should do that, because both of you can play on PC now.
Mm-hmm.
I'm on Xbox, so that should be totally fine. We should hook up and do that.
Let's do it.
I'm totally down.
Sessions.
Yes. It's a damn good. It's a damn good game. It's one of those games. I had a discussion about it when it came out. It's like, would it be worth buying blind out of the box? I don't know, because it's in Games Pass. It's definitely worth trying, and then once you get into it a little bit, it's like, it's got that fun factor of Left 4 Dead. It's got that, me and a few friends are gonna get absolutely torn apart by the zombie hordes. This is a good night, and I love it. I don't know that it's got quite the charm, but then some of that could be nostalgia speaking as well, for the experiences that I had playing Left 4 Dead with friends back in the day. So I don't know if it's missing maybe just a spark of the charm, but it's still a really good game, really fun to play, and it's still got those elements of the teen crap horde. So
does it still have like the colourful characters and their little bits of banter and witty one-liners stuff that the original Left 4 Dead's had?
Yes, you still get those moments. You still get the nice set pieces as well. Because obviously, one of the things that I loved with Left 4 Dead was that moment. It's like, right, we've got to open this gate, but it's going to bring all hell down upon us. Yeah. You get that in Back 4 Blood. There's one particular one which was talked about a lot, because this was what was getting people in trouble on Twitch, and we had the same issue. You can turn off the in-game music because it's got licensed music. Brilliant. Okay. All games should have that option now, because obviously streamers are going to get stuck otherwise. except there's a set piece where you're in a bar and there's a jukebox, and you have to keep activating the jukebox to distract zombies while they get bus loads of like kids and stuff out of the area.
Okay.
Or something.
Yeah.
But the jukebox has licensed music, and they never thought to change that. So I'm trying to remember. I think it's like Ace of Spades or something. So I'm having a great time. When we were playing it on stream, they're like, the Ace of Spades. Oh, wait a minute. And we suddenly realised we can't turn it off. So that was a bit problematic. And apparently a handful of people did get copyright strikes for it. But
man. I was in the same, not in the same boat, but I was the same opinion when I was playing Guardians of the Galaxy, the Marvel game, because there's so much amazing 80s rock licensed music in that. And what was obviously wonderful is there is an option to turn that all off and substitute it with some other copyright free music. But I never wanted to stream it because I'd have to do that. And I didn't want to play it without White Wedding or I Need a Hero belting out during these set pieces. I want the original 80s music that I remember growing up with, and I want those epic tunes to be blasting out as Star-Lord and Rocket and Gamora are all like laying a smackdown on the enemies. But I mean, slightly different there, whereas all the music does get switched out. But I don't even know if it's. I think it's actually pretty good because they created a fake rock band to do a lot of the music. So I need to just check it out for curiosity more than anything. But it kind of sucks for Back 4 Blood that they have that one, admittedly, god tier rock tune, but you can't switch it out if you're going to streaming it, and then you are potentially going to get copyright struck.
Very frustrating, but damn good game, and it retains, a lot of it retains all the fun factor of Left 4 Dead. Like I say, it's maybe not quite got. I don't remember getting any moments particularly of like, oh crap, as much, but it's definitely got the feel. There's no escaping the fact that it's Left 4 Dead 3 in all but name. Like you can tell, like obviously it's there. So, but yeah, Left 4 Dead, that's a damn good series. Needs more.
Good pick. Sarah, what's your number 2?
I don't know if this is technically my number 2 on my list, because I have a whole list.
Game.
So I'm like,
just a game. Any order. Yeah.
So, have you heard of a game called Barotrauma?
No.
So
what?
It is
Jamie's nodding.
It's great. I knew Jamie would be a fan of it because it's a horror survivor. So it's a 2D co-op horror survival game on a submarine where you have to navigate the depths of Europa. It is awesome. You essentially get to pick a kind of character type. So there's like a captain or like an engineer, a medical class as well. So you have your class, and then you can sort of, as it's become a bigger game and they've added more into it, you're actually able to do more customization of your class itself if you play that class over and over again, get XP, and then you can build it, customize it to how you like to play. The monsters in it are terrifying. There are these huge things that are like 3 times the size of your little submarine, and all you have is you jump on a sort of telescopic some sort of weapon that you have, which you can upgrade on your submarine. But you get an external view of the submarine at this point, and then there's just like, so here's your little submarine, like this, and then the monster's like about this big, all out the side of it, and everything else is black and dark outside except for this massive monster that is just ramming you or like trying to take bites out of your submarine. Everybody else on the submarine is running around frantically trying to like seal up the holes that have happened because of the monster, and the people on the guns are trying to like kill it. The guy who's the captain is trying to navigate away from it or into it, and it's so fun. And then there are these terrifying like missions where you go into submarines that have essentially the crew is not reporting in, so you need to go find out what's happening, maybe retrieve some items from that submarine, and so you go out into the dark ocean of Europa, away from your submarine, your safe submarine, to this terrifying like wreckage of a submarine, and you have to investigate it. And sometimes there might be a sort of undead person on there who may bite you, and then you may bring that back to your submarine and then end up killing all your friends. But it's great. It's super fun.
This sounds amazing.
It's
That sounds
really
amazing.
cool. It is PC only at this point. Or I don't know if they're going to do any ports to console, but it would be very cool if they did. I would definitely recommend it. I think we've
Yeah.
played with, and it's also like massive multiplayer. Again, it's one of these games that has a proximity chat in it as well, but we tend to use Discord because it's just easier, and also because it's such chaos. The minute that one thing goes wrong and you don't get on top of it, everything else kind of piles up. And there's also an element of maintaining your ship and all of its kind of various elements, the electrical stuff, and it's all powered by something ridiculous, some sort of crazy element. I can't remember what it is. Is it like uranium? Is that extreme? Maybe it's something like that.
Probably. I haven't
I
played
think
it
it's
since it
something like that.
released,
So-
and it was a while ago. So
But there's a whole process in which you like have to, even just running the submarine is challenge enough, let alone when you get attacked by big things. And there's a kind of political element to it as well.
Ooh.
There are different factions on the planet, so you can actually align yourself with them, and you'll get perks if you're in like a base that they look after. And if you sort of pit yourself against another one, then you might end up in fights that you don't want to be in. There's a whole cult of the clown, which is absolutely ridiculous. But at one point, like your job is to like take a crate worth of stuff to this other port, essentially. And if you sometimes you can just leave the crate, take it, do the job. But if you like look in the crate, we did this one thing for the clown cult. And essentially there was like some like squeaky horns and some clown masks and stuff in there. We're like, what? Let's not give this back. Let's keep this and just walk around our sub honking horns at each other. Oh, I think it's called the Honk Mother. Yeah. And they say things like praise the Honk Mother. It's very silly, but it's also very creepy.
Oh,
definitely recommend it. Barotrauma.
Please tell me there's like a Mac version so I can at least.
There absolutely is. That's how I used to play it. Yeah. So I played it on Mac first, and now that I have my big fancy rig, I'll be able to play it on my main PC. But yeah, it's on Mac. So yeah, you should play. You'd love it.
I will. I'm going to check it out.
We have a Discord for all our friends. We have I think we've played at most. We've played with 6 or maybe even 8 at one point. You can basically get different size submarines based on the size of your crew.
Wow.
And you can double up on classes when that happens as well. And there's loads of people that have done, because there's a custom building mechanic as well for building your own sub, so you can add things to it and kind of make it super powered and have the best weaponry and everything. If you want to go down that route, like we tend not to do that. We tend to actually want to play the game and earn the upgrades that we do.
Sure, yeah, absolutely.
But also, if that's not how you want to play it, you can absolutely design it or take people's existing designs and throw them into the game and play on a big fancy sub. But yeah, Barotrauma, it's awesome.
I'm gonna check this out. Okay, so it's
I
my turn.
I may have a key for you if you want. So message me.
I will, yeah, definitely. I need to check it out and join your Discord server as well, so we can chat about submarine builds and expeditions to go on. Okay, so my one, it's another blast from the past, everybody. I'm actually going back another generation. So Condemned Criminal Origins was an Xbox 360 game. I'm going back to OG Xbox. This one came out in 2002. And Jamie's already like, he's picking up his ears. He's like, I'm interested in this already. It is a sequel to John Carpenter's The Thing. Okay? And it was the Thing, the video game. It came out on the original Xbox. It also came to PS2 and GameCube. I'm reading the Wikipedia page because it's been so long ago since I actually had this game. And I remember vividly also this game for its day was doing things that were just so far beyond what horror games had really done at the time. It's a third-person survival horror game set in the Antarctic research station of John Carpenter's movie, The Thing. And you are tasked, you're a special forces soldier, but you're not like a gung-ho, shooty, everything kind of intense action game. It's much more slower pace. You got to work out what's actually happened. And obviously the alien creature is a presence on the ice station, but you don't know who the survivors are. Can you trust them? Can you not trust them? Are they going to turn on you? And there's this whole brilliantly developed mechanic about a trust system between you and the other NPCs and your allies. And I remember it for that alone more than anything, just being so original and so different. And the fact that it was always different as well. I think every time you kind of booted up or played it or played a new game, who you could trust was always different, and it was messing with you. And if you had sided with some person, then this other person would impact that relationship and that morale between your character and their character, even if they were in the right. And as it was almost, you kind of see it in like the Walking Dead Telltale series, where you have to work on your relationships and your morale and things like who you're going to side with, and then the repercussions of that. But this game did it way back in 2002, many years before Telltale did it with their narrative series. And like for its day as well, the graphics were excellent. I remember like the snow drifts and things like that when you had to venture outside the space station. It was like very difficult to see because there's an ongoing blizzard in the Arctic and Antarctica, I should say. And when the alien does eventually kind of reveal itself, it was like Resident Evil horrifying like imagery. If you're familiar with the movies, then you'll be familiar with what to expect in this video game. But it was such a great game, and of course, fire is your best friend in the Thing, the movie. And I wish there was a way to play this game today. Maybe you can pick up on PC and still manage to get like an emulation of it or something like that. That would be tremendous. But I believe there's no way to be able to play this on like consoles or anything like that. I would love for this to have been like one of those backward compatible games that the Xbox program had done and maybe boosted it a little bit, or like for resolution or something. Because I would love to play this again, and I would love to surface it for an audience to be able to just be aware of what this game was doing. It was published by Konami at the time as well, and it was just all about the atmosphere and the paranoia. It was so palpable how it played with paranoia, and of course the visuals were pretty freaking awesome for its day as well. Jamie remembers the Thing, I'm pretty sure.
I do. It's probably one of the more successful horror film into horror game games. What a poorly constructed sentence, but it was, because they tend to not be particularly great always. Like when they try and make a game out of a horror film, like there's exceptions, but I think the Thing was good. I remember that one. I do remember that one. And it would be nice to see them bring it back if possible. But
I know. Well, I'm trying to think that if there was something to do with John Carpenter in it as well. I for some reason I'm thinking, did John Carpenter like do a cameo in it or something? I think he did.
Did he not make music for it?
Wouldn't surprise me. He probably did. Yeah, wouldn't surprise me.
But I keep touching this fake blood. Fucking everywhere.
I think you need to reapply more, Jamie. Just got to embrace it. Embrace the blood. So audio listeners are sorely missing out on this episode. The YouTube fam are just going to be having a time. Look at that. I mean, Jamie, that's just so gross. It's not the Tarantino levels of blood where it's clearly lampooning something because it's like a geyser of blood. It's just the believable, deeply disturbing level of blood coming from your eyes.
Yeah.
I have to trigger warning this one, I think, actually, guys, because it's a little bit. Oh, the problem is I've got it in my mouth.
What's it taste like?
Not good. Not blood, I'll tell you that.
That's right.
Oh, that's good. So it's not real.
No. If it is, I don't know where it comes from. But... so,
Jamie, it's your turn. You got another one for us?
Oh yeah, it's horror games, mate. I could talk horror games all day.
Yeah.
So, going back generations again as well to original Xbox and on 360, I think, but certainly starting with the original Xbox, the Project Zero games. and or as they were known in Japan, the originally known in Japan, Fatal Frame, which became Project Zero over here. They did 2 of them, Project Zero and Project Zero 2 Crimson Butterfly. There is a third, which never quite made it across the pond. It's on PC, but it didn't make it across to us on consoles, which is a shame. But this actually started, so my wife at the time, she is also a huge fan of horror games. And we picked this one up. I wasn't that interested in it particularly. I didn't really see, but I picked up Project Zero for her to play, and then watched her play it. And I was like, I'm gonna have to give this a go. This looks really good. So I love Japanese horror cinema. They are masters of doing a lot with a little. Right, whereas a lot of American horror is big, brash, monster.
Yeah.
I mean, the prime example for me is always like Jeepers Creepers. Like the Jeepers Creepers, I thought was doing quite. Aside from it's a troubled franchise anyway, and the director is an awful human. But I saw the first film, and it was doing really well and being creepy. There's just this guy in a truck following these kids, and it's like, what the hell's going on? And you're like, oh, okay, this is a bad man. I like it. This is bad. And then suddenly it's this leathery winged thing. I've lost interest now. We've done Demons. This is not. You've built it up in one way, and then the reveal has ruined it. The Japanese have a tendency in cinema to do very much build the creep factor beautifully, and you get a whisper of something or a hint of something, and then when you do get a reveal, it will just be someone with a white face in the shadows, and it's horrible and it's brilliant, and I love it. Like it's so good. And Project Zero took all that. Well, we'll make a game about it then, and it's fucked up. It's brilliantly. So you play as one of twins. I believe in the first one. I always get them mixed up because played the 2 back to back. Basically, once we found out how good it was. So, but you essentially play with you have a camera, and that's the only way you can stop the ghosts is by taking pictures of them.
Okay, that's interesting.
But it just sort of slows them down. And if you have to try and get the right shot. And if you get the right shot, they'll bugger off for a bit. But when you go back into that room, they will be there again. And there's various weird ghosts, but you also get.
Jamie, are you telling me that Nintendo ripped off this mechanic for Luigi's Mansion, where you have to flash King Boo in the face, and Mario does it as well? Right?
Yeah. Oh yeah. It's the funny thing is there's quite a few games that I've noticed since, like on Steam and that, which have smaller indie horror titles which have used the idea.
Yeah.
Even Phasmophobia does it. There's one type of ghost that when you take a picture, it buggers off for a bit. So it's great. It's a very much a camera obscura type thing. It's an old fashioned camera that you're carrying around.
That's cool, yeah.
And there's some brilliant sound effects, some brilliant creepy moments, and there's special ghosts. Like there's one that comes towards you just going, my eyes. It doesn't have any, right? Which is always great. And the bit that got me was there's a scene where you're walking up some steps and it cuts to a cutscene, and you're still on the stairs, and you hear a noise, and you turn around just as this woman falls past you down the stairs. And she looks you dead in the eye as her spirit goes past you going down the stairwell.
Oh my God. Okay,
and then crumples into the floor and then poof, vanished.
Whoa.
She's reliving the moment of her death, but the thing is, she relives it a bit too much if you stay in that area for a while. So you're stood there just constantly watching this poor woman go, poof, poof, poof. Like, I should leave because I'm forcing this on you at this point, and it's not kind, but I'm trying to find a thing. So it got slightly amusing in that one instance, but yeah, brilliant Japanese creepy, barely there horror at times with some great character design, and it's a little harder to find now because it was, like I said, it was OG Xbox, and I'm sure the second one was 360. But I'm pretty certain that they are on PC. And I keep meaning to revisit and see if I can pick them up. I believe the third one actually made it to PC now as well. So I shall have to see if I can grab a copy and give it a whirl, because it's just a really brilliant type of game. Just very, very much worth a shot.
Good pick. Okay, Sarah.
I'm trying to decide which one. I'm gonna say Until Dawn.
Yes.
Which is just iconic. I don't think I've managed to do a playthrough where I've saved everybody yet. I always manage to kill someone right at the end.
I always manage to kill everybody. That's what I aim for in these games. Can I kill everybody?
Clean palette at the end. But also, I played recently The Quarry, which is basically exactly the same as Until Dawn in terms of the style of playing.
Yeah.
But I don't know if the game is easier, maybe, because first playthrough, basically nearly everyone survived. And I was like, this is weird. Like in the first time I played through Until Dawn, I think I maybe got out with 2 people. And the first time playing through The Quarry, it was like the reverse of that. I think only 2 people died. So I was like, oh, okay. But yeah, I just think it's brilliant. It's got a really good level of immersion, but also you feel like you're basically playing a horror movie. Like you're watching a bunch of teenagers do something really dumb, going to some house on the lake in the middle of the night and being like, everything's fine, right? We don't have to, we're not a bunch of dumb teenagers. This isn't an obvious prelude to a horror film. But some of the deaths in that are so excellent. And that's the best part. And the Wendigo, the monster in it is terrifying. I remember off the back of playing the game for the first time, I actually started writing my very first short story, which I still haven't finished. So it's currently a very short story. But I know I know where it's going to end up. I have a very strong idea, and it is based on the concept of how Wendigos come into being. And the whole cannibalism element of them and the folklore behind them. So at some point I'll probably write that in amongst all the other stuff that I do. But it was really inspirational in that sense. And then The Quarry is just great fun. It was fun. We came back for a second playthrough, and obviously you get to decide the way that you respond to certain things. So we were like, let's just be absolute dickheads this time around and just say all the things that we don't instinctually want to say. And that's a really fun playthrough. So
that's cool. I've got the Quarry still to play.
It's great.
But I remember, Jamie, I think we talked about it on one of the previous ones. It was the opening gameplay cinematic that they released, and it's Ted Raimi as the shifty as fuck cop.
He's so terrifying. It's great.
It was just that kind of opening sequence that they played out, and I remember thinking, this is super uncanny valley, what they've done with the motion capture and the camera work. Again, we obviously talk about camera work in horror games because it's so vital. And yeah, it did feel like a spiritual sequel to Until Dawn.
Yeah,
one of my favorite ones. In Until Dawn, you don't try and save the cheerleader, and you definitely don't save the world. She gets slaughtered pretty quickly in my playthrough anyway. By accident. It wasn't intentional. It's like, oh, okay. In that case, we may as well just try and kill everybody. But what a great series.
Yeah.
There's nothing more fun than an asshole running a game, though, is there? Where you've got options to either be the hero or not be. Down to I will always do the good playthrough first. Even like Fable, I was always like, I'm going for that Halo. Like I've got to go for that Halo. But then you play it again, going like, I'm going to go through whatever is the worst possible option. Like, I'm going to be the absolute dregs of humanity for this game because I want to see how bad it can get.
Yeah. Yeah. Where it tells you to press X to jump over the log as you're running through the forest, just let them trip over it.
Yeah.
Just let them fall into a rock and stuff like that. Yeah.
Enjoy that power.
It just goes back, I think. I honestly think that we're still just taking out anxiety from playing Tomb Raider, the first one. I think it's that moment where you've tried to jump for the 35th time and she will not make it, so you just start drowning her deliberately. Just like, go on, get in the water. Just fucking get in the water. I've had enough. Done with this shit. Post-tomb stress disorder. That's what I've got.
That's it. It's cheaper than therapy. It's cheaper than therapy. There you go. Great choice, Sarah. Great choice. Okay, for my third one, I'm going back even further I'm
So
going back
retro.
I'm going
Oh,
back a
damn.
generation again. I do have modern ones that I'll probably do an honorable mention, but these are the ones that kind of stand out and stuck with me. So back to 1992, everybody. Okay, little 13-year-old Rossi has his Sega Mega Drive. He has been enjoying Sonic the Hedgehog and Altered Beast and things like that, and then a game falls into my lap. I unwrap it, and it's a title called Splatterhouse 2.
Oh, yeah.
The cover art is a complete ripoff of Jason Voorhees. He is swinging a baseball bat. He's got a hockey mask. You're basically Jason Voorhees. It's a side scroller. I guess you could say not even haunted house. It's just like there's sewers and there's environments, a side scrolling kind of beat 'em up, but it's just horrific. And it's like visually just disgusting. You pick up a chainsaw as a power weapon at one point. You've got a baseball bat. You've got your fists. And it's just laying a smackdown on all these demonic, evil, gross creatures. And I remember it being really hard. I don't know if it is by today's standards, but I remember it being really, really hard and filled with the type of imagery which did probably scar me at such a young and impressionable age as a child. But one of the things that really stood out was the skinless babies that whine and wail and crawl along the floor, and you have to stomp on them. Do you stomp on them, or do you have to kill them, or you chainsaw them? Things like that. It's what a retro game. And I don't know if it's available through emulation on like maybe like the Switch Virtual Console or something like that. I would love it to be, because I'd love to dive back into it and see how it holds up. Probably does not hold up at all. But for its day on the Sega Mega Drive, though, the power of the 16-bit machines, this game was an absolute blast and a riot, and pretty horrifying in its imagery and stuff. I loved it. And Jamie's nodding away. I think he remembers it quite vividly as well.
Oh, yeah. It was great. A mate of mine had it. I remember being going around to a friend's place one weekend, getting dropped off by my mum or something. Like this was a little bit after, because 92, I was 8, not as old as I look. Yeah, I was 8, so I think it's like Big Brother's Mega Drive, maybe. But it's like, oh, you two can go play on that if you want. And he's like, oh, do you want to try this game? And it's just splat, gore, splat, gore. And even back then, I was exactly the same as I am now. I was just like, that's cool. It's just desensitized to a horrific degree. But yeah, no, it's a fun game. And I have played it since. Emulated, somewhere. And it's still fun.
It must be, right. It must be easy to get somehow, I would have thought.
Or as long as
these are the games that I wish wouldn't be lost to time and hardware changes. They need to be like preserved somewhere so people can pick them up and experience them somehow, because retro gaming is it's filled with so many gems of what the state of the industry was back then, and what artists were doing with the technical limitations. I mean, today is almost unbridled imagination you can create because of the power of everything nowadays. But back then, like 8-bit, 16-bit, it was like real wizardry to try and get these things, trying to get like really colorful art, and then you've got the audio as well, the 16-bit audio, and to deliver these things on a cartridge with instant loading. Not like today. Well, actually, we'll almost go back to instant loading, actually, with the SSDs and everything like that. But back then, it was like, blow in the cartridge, shove it in, turn it on, and you're gaming straight away.
Yeah.
Those were the days.
Yeah.
I don't hold me to this, but I've just been sat here thinking, and Splatterhouse 2 might be on one of the like collection things that got released, like the Sega collection or something like that.
Sega collection or something? Oh, I'm going to
possibly. I'm sure I've played it on a recent console. I'm sure I have, but I could just be losing my mind, which is entirely possible. I've drank quite a lot of fake blood today. I'm not sure what that does to the memory.
No, you're right. You're right, Jamie. It says it will be included on the Sega Genesis Mini 2 in October 2022. So this month. Halloween month.
Oh, so it's coming out on one.
It's coming out on the next Genesis Mini or Mega Drive Mini,
Nice.
I guess.
Oh,
Worth it.
there you
Just
go.
for that, folks. There you go.
Yeah.
Free plug to Sega. Give them your money just to play Splatterhouse 2.
There's so much.
I know. Right, so we're coming up on time. So shall we have a quick whip round of like honorable mentions, games that we just love that are in the horror vein? Jamie, go first. A couple. Shout out 3 if you've got 3, and then we'll just do 3 each and then wrap.
Easy enough. Alien Isolation.
Yeah.
Has to do with that.
That was on my list, you bastard. Okay.
It had to be on someone's, didn't it? It's so
Yeah.
good. It's so creepy, and you're being hunted by a xenomorph. I mean, it's enough said, really.
That learns.
I would say one that, in a weird twist, one that I haven't actually played, but I've watched played. And it's an interesting way to do horror games. One of my favorite ways to play a horror game is to not play it, but to let Alan play it and watch him. And he played Mortuary Assistant.
That's on my list.
It's so good.
It's so good.
It is exceptionally weird and creepy and fucked up, and it uses everything from tiny audio cues to jump scares to real balls to the wall fucking sketchy ass. I'm so impressed. And third is it's an indie title made by one guy who shamelessly saw Phasmophobia and thought, "Ooh, my turn." But there's a game called Obsidio, which is it's great. It's very Phasmophobia in its feel. You go in and try and identify the ghost, but you go in as 4 priests, and you identify the ghost, and then you have to perform a ritual to actually exorcise the ghost. And he's got more ghost types, and he's got more evidence, and it gets weird. So as you walk around it, like, you don't just get, oh, there's a noise, there's something moving. Like, you'll go down the corridor, and a knife will thud into the wall next to you. Or I opened a door, and there was literally a portrait just floating down the hall towards me. And it got all the way towards me, and it stopped in front of me. And I was like, guys, this is weird. And then it dropped, and I actually went, "Nip." So it's like, it's great. So it's a little bit janky. It's one guy doing, he's doing his best, but it's a wee bit janky. It has its problems. But it's a lot of fun, and it's only it's quite cheap to pick up on Steam, and it's well, if you enjoy Phasmophobia and that sort of game, Obsidio is definitely worth checking out with your buds, because it's just fun to play.
Good picks. Okay, Sarah.
Okay, so I'm trying not to step on your toes, Ross, so I'm not going to say one of the ones I was thinking of.
No, go for it. It's fine.
Okay, well, then in which case I'm going to have 4. So The Last of Us.
Good shout.
Obvious choice.
Yeah, good shout.
Alan Wake.
Haven't played it, but I have the remaster. Okay.
It's great. It's really good. A game called Death Road to Canada. If you haven't played it, it's very cool. It's on Switch. It's also on Steam. It's essentially an arcade style game, roguelike, and America has been taken over by zombies. The only way to get out is to go to Canada. So you basically travel along the road, stopping at various things to pick up supplies and whatnot, while also fighting hordes of zombies. It's very cool. Definitely recommend it. Medieval, which I used to play back when I was a little kiddo. And Scorn, because I've really loved playing that as
modern one, yeah.
Aside from the janky combat when you get to it.
Sure. But just visually and atmosphere, like, that's probably the best modern one, right?
Yeah.